Nice to meet you, Josh. I'm Josh White from CanO Water. Lovely to meet you. So, how are
Very good to
things?
meet you,
Good?
Kevin. Yeah, all good, all good. Feel fresh Monday morning, so yeah, can't complain.
Excellent. Do you want to just kind of give me a bit of background? Just talk me through kind of like how the business came about, how you've ended up where you've ended up.
Yeah, so in 2014, me and my two best friends went to Thailand, just on a lad's holiday really, and came across huge amounts of plastic pollution. We grew up in Hertfordshire, London, and we basically had never seen anything like this. It wasn't something that was on our radar. It wasn't something that we cared about, and we were just shocked. We've sort of all three of us have got you know some kind of we're on the spectrum in some areas. I've got
Oh, yeah.
severe ADHD, and my other colleague Perry does. He's a designer. My other friend Ariel, who was sort of like came from a sales background. I think that we became completely intrigued in why is this happening? How is it happening? And became obsessed with trying to sort of make a difference. And
Yeah.
we're all obsessed with brand and culture. I'm a DJ. I've been DJing since I was 11 years old, and I'm obsessed with music and art, and we just always wanted to build something that's a bit of like a Red Bull esque, I guess you could say,
Sure. Yeah.
just
Yeah.
something really, really cool. And when we got home from the trip, we stumbled across a few facts. One of them is that aluminium is the most recyclable material on the planet.
Yeah.
So when you recycle a can, it will always come back as another can.
Yeah.
And also 75% of all aluminium ever produced is just still in circulation. The
Just kind of
recycling rate
it goes
goes
round
round
and
and
round and
round.
round. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the recycling rate's so high, and it's just such a good message. And we were sort of like, how has no one done this? And
Mm.
the truth is because it's more expensive. It's
Yeah.
not in the benefit of the big companies to do it because they make so much money from the false economy of plastic packaging, which is cheap. And essentially, we thought we're going to be the first people in the world to put water in a can. And in 2015, we basically we packaged up this fake brand that didn't exist because we didn't have the money to start it. We
Yeah.
basically just sort of bootstrapped it ourselves. um, and in 2016, we were the first people in the world to launch a can of water, and we launched in Selfridges and in London Fashion Week, which was scary, to say the least, but also, for a 22-year-old, very exciting.
Yeah. Yeah. Bit nuts, really.
Yeah, for sure.
You mentioned there about aluminium, kind of that kind of like circular kind of being used, recycled. So give me some insight into the difference between a bottle.
So the problem with a plastic bottle, so listen, every single form of packaging has its pros and cons.
Sure, yeah.
Even if you look at the tap, it's got microplastics and fluoride. If you look at the copper taps that it's coming out of, they're probably filthy after hundreds of years, and all these sort of kinds of issues. Like nothing's perfect.
No.
I think the main thing for us when starting the business is there needs to our whole lives are confined by convenience. So if you can't just get rid of plastic,
No.
just is it's impossible.
Yeah.
It's so convenient for people, and it's different to the world where it was 30, 40 years ago, where people just sort of, you know, re- even the deposit return scheme that's coming in a few years, I've got my doubts on it. But the reality is plastic, when it's recycled, it will never really come back as another plastic bottle. It also has no intrinsic value to it. So the recycling plants don't really want anything to do with it. Whereas aluminium, they make money on it.
Yeah.
Glass, they make money on it. So it is an issue. Also, if you keep recycling plastic, it turns into like this murky color that you just would never want to sort of drink
Is that
or
why? Is that why it doesn't end up in as bottles? It ends up in because of the
shoelaces or a bit of
yeah.
clothes and things like that. Yeah, exactly. So, and also like the worst thing, and I think this is the biggest problem, and it's being spoken about a lot more now, is it just sheds microplastics,
Yeah.
and it's horrendous and it's terrible for our health, and you know this is something that is like out of sight, out of mind, and it's really really bad. But then there's other materials like Tetra Pak that are also terrible. Tetra Pak, which is like an Oatly carton, is fused with plastic, paper, and aluminium all in one. So
Like
there's exactly.
yeah.
So there's a lot of problems. Listen, aluminium has its cons. It's very energy intensive, and you have to mine aluminium. But the truth is you don't have to mine as much because it's so recyclable. So you're
Yeah,
just
sure.
using the same aluminium.
Yeah.
Whereas plastic, you've constantly got to make more and more plastic. So, there is no solution for the plastic problem as of yet. I think it's going to take a long time. And we just looked at aluminium as it might be more expensive, but it doesn't cost the earth. And the infrastructure has already there.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's such a good sort of product to launch in. Um, and that's why we sort of stumbled upon it, to be honest
Yeah.
with you. We had no idea. We just was sort of like, and none of us came from science backgrounds, or I
Sure,
mean,
yeah.
I failed school completely. I got kicked out of school. I'm not the person when it comes to science, but common sense and looking at what's actually better for the planet,
Yeah.
and for the oceans, which is why we started
Yeah.
going for a plastic bottle. That bridge is 100% a can.
Yeah. So tell me, how did you? I mean, I love the brand. I love all the stuff you've done. The don't bottle it. I think the name. How did all that come about? Because that's kind of like that feels like something that you've gone to an agency and they've kind of talked to me
Yeah.
about that.
Honestly, like when we first started the brand, people thought that we were a lot bigger than we were. I mean, listen, we are very fortunate. My colleague Perry is a phenomenal designer, self-taught. The three of us all failed school, never went to university. Just very, I mean, like the best way to describe it is we are basically just very good blaggers. And that was kind of like, that was basically like what we were so good at in the early days. And I think that, we were quite likable. We were kids. I mean, we didn't really know what we were doing, but what we are very, very good at is we are very, 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 we're grafters, and
Yeah.
we're hard workers. And I think that, whether it be our sales techniques or Perry with the design and me with the marketing,
Yeah.
everything just looked polished.
Yeah.
And we would turn up to a meeting and someone would be like, "How, like, who's behind all of this?" And we would just like us, and it would just be like three kids sitting in front of them. Um, and we all between us, we all grew up very young.
Yeah.
We were, at 18, I'd started my first business in events, and I had been working, whether it be in a local bagel shop, or selling hair gel on the streets by the age of like 13, 14. You know,
Yeah.
I very much like look up to my dad. My dad basically just came from complete nothing, like a
Yeah.
council estate in London, and sort of wanted to get out of that at a young age, and just grafted. And he's a jeweler, and like when he was a kid he was selling fake Tiffany bracelets from his back of his car, that didn't even have doors. And growing up, even though he sort of gave me a life that like I am beyond sort of grateful for, he always sort of taught me good values,
Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
and it was always about, who cares about money? It's all about sort of like, family values and working hard and basically just being down to earth and humble, etc., etc. So I was very fortunate that he gave me all of that knowledge before I sort of went into business.
Sure.
So I was, yeah, so a lot of it, to be completely honest with you, a lot of it was naivety, a lot of it was luck, because when we started the business, we had no idea what we were doing, and that the name CanO Water was just on a WhatsApp group. The three of us, we were just talking, and someone was like, why don't we just call it water? And then the lawyers were like, you can't do that. And then we thought about can of water, and then it just came to us, CanO Water. Don't bottle it was literally just another one. I think that we worked with a PR agency at the time, and we were just floating around some ideas, and
Yeah.
there were so many, and don't bottle it just sort of came out of one of our mouths. So yeah, it really, honestly, it looks so much more polished than it actually is.
Yeah. No, I think I mean, it certainly looks it certainly looks the part, and clearly it's working. I mean, I think
Yeah.
what I saw earlier that it was it you've sold your 11, was it 11 millionth can or something like that? Which
So
is
yes, we've sold over 70 million, well, just under 70 million cans in the UK.
yeah,
And then year to date, so like this year we did 11 million cans. Yeah.
that's incredible, isn't it? Really?
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, super exciting, not easy. Definitely, all the roller coasters and hurdles of any business. So yeah, it's funny. On the outside, it's like that iceberg. Like on the tip of the iceberg, it looks great, but underneath, we're all just doing everything we can to sort of keep it above water.
Yeah, absolutely. No, it's cool. So we talked earlier about the fact that you've got an e-commerce website, but you right now your main route to market is, and it's water that you're selling. The main route to
Yes.
market is via kind of partners and those sorts of things. But you still have the ability, so I can go onto your website and buy. Can I guess.
So you can go on our website and it will redirect you at the moment to Amazon.
Right. Okay.
We have sold on our website in the past. We found that the issue that a lot of drinks companies have is the weight of the packaging. It's very, very
Yes.
heavy. When you get quotes for anything, it's crazy money. So to deliver cases is very expensive. So
Yeah.
by the time you sort of package it on your website and put it out to the customer, it's just way too expensive. So
Yeah.
our main channels are wholesale and retail, and online is absolutely enormous for us, but it's just through Amazon, Ocado, um, and other sort of wholesalers that have online angles. That's not to say that we aren't still looking at it. We are. We have sold merch, which is definitely a part of our plan going forward as well, which we
Yeah.
are looking at on our website. And we have sold like these sort of, we used to call them try me packs. They were like sort of small tester boxes, which are a lot cheaper. It's a few cans. But, pre-COVID, we didn't look at online as being a huge channel.
Yeah.
During COVID, when our main channel sort of went to sleep, let's just put it that way, we looked at online and thought, okay, how can we utilize this? Launched on Amazon, and Amazon has sort of literally within a few years become our biggest customer. And that's all fulfilled by Amazon. So we know that online is great. I think the thing that I love about online, um, albeit it is expensive, is the most difficult thing that any small brand will find is converting customers, and one of the most difficult things, especially on shelf. And if you imagine Tesco's as an example, or Whole Foods, you're going into somewhere and there's 10 different brands on the shelf. Okay. And that
Yeah.
person has 1 second to decide what they want. When there is no POS there, and when there's no point of sale or any sort of like, because it's too expensive. These big brands, they can spend 100 to 200 grand on, getting point of sale material out there. We just can't.
Yeah.
The nice thing about online is as a really solid brand, we can create an amazing user experience for that for the consumer. So on Amazon, they can see that, on our store that we've got celebrities holding our product, we've got nice videos, we've got this, we've got that, and at that point, people will make a decision. Also, the reviews review system is amazing, albeit that you do get some shit reviews at times, but that is just what it is. But the truth is that it gives CanO the best. It gives the consumer the best look of CanO. And where the biggest companies in the world can buy their they can buy the space. This is a perfect
You're stuck in the corner, aren't you? If they're doing that.
if the other brands have got a bad product, the term the saying of you can't polish a shit is the best the best one for this is we are seen in our best light as a really cool brand. And however much they try and jazz their product up, a lot of these brands, they're stuck in the past, and that's where CanO has its upper hand online. So we've seen the testament is in the growth, and also you don't have a middleman in this as well, and that is also another area when you are in control of it. If you've got a really, really great product and a great story, if you can control the narrative, I am, and you can get the goods to the consumer at an affordable price, I think you've got a really, really great win there. But I don't know too much as well about that world because, as I said, like we don't do a lot in that world.
Yeah, but Amazon's good for you, yeah. So you got, have you got visibility on the kind of frequency of purchase and are people kind of coming back?
Yeah, so we work with an agency, a really great agency for Amazon. I think that's really important. We get a lot of good data. Yes, we can see, we can see all of that. We can see the difference between, whether it's an individual or a business, and it's really, really, really interesting. We can obviously see location, and we did a big campaign at the moment where we took over a tram in Manchester and wrapped it. And we also did a lot of sampling in Manchester and been doing a few more events in Manchester. And what's really great to see from the data on Amazon is that Manchester's picked up. So these things are really, really, really great and really important to see. I think that, water's a weird one when it comes to online, as I mentioned. I think that, something we are potentially looking at in the future is some flavors. And I think that is something that, for online, especially for our website, people pay a bit more for flavors. Water is it's a very delicate model. And, at the end of the day, people can get water out of their tap. As I said before, they might think it's great quality, but if it isn't filtered, it's not that great. And we've got really good quality spring water, so you're going to pay a premium, but no one should be paying, an arm and a leg. And that's where, flavors do command a bit more of a price. People are used to spending a bit more for flavors, and, we might be looking down a route of sort of different benefits and functions, etc. So I think that, for us, that's where the online part is very important. Yeah.
What's the when was the business founded? So the whole concept came 9 years ago. When did you actually launch the business?
So launched in 2016.
Okay, cool. And what would you say is your what was the moment when you thought, okay, yeah, we've clearly the three of you are pretty determined guys. You're pretty creative too. When was that realization of kind of like, yeah, this is going to work?
I think we're still realizing that, to be honest with you, Kevin. I think that, most businesses that I'm sure you speak to are in that sort of that place. I mean, listen,
Yeah, sure.
we're like startup to scale up at the moment. But one thing that was very much a pivotal moment of the business where we were really in a tough place and it was sort of make or break was in 2018.
Yeah.
We were a few months away from literally just running out of money and nothing
And
was
two
really
two
moving.
years in, you were on 2 years in, you were on the edge.
Yeah, and
What got you through that?
David Attenborough. So David Attenborough and Sky. Sky did this thing called Sky Ocean Rescue, and David Attenborough did a whole series on Blue Planet, and a lot of it was about plastic pollution. And
Yeah.
we very much saw the shift from we sold like a few 100,000 cans in 2 years, and then 10 million cans in 2019, which was obviously it was definitely a knee-jerk reaction. And talking about online, I speak to a lot of founders who saw enormous growth in COVID, enormous, and then off of the back of COVID, it really sort of did dipped off. And a lot of these businesses, they thought, oh my God, like we're going to the moon. And then like the year later, it all sort of trickled down. And the annoying thing for us actually is we saw such huge growth in 2019 that when COVID hit, we basically just went back to zero, because all of the places that we saw the growth in, zoos, head offices, hotels, it all just shut overnight. So it was kind of like 12 months of, I mean, and as a co-founder, like it was so exciting, and it was like, oh my God, we've we've made it, but like, oh, we everyone thought we were mad, and we've got such amazing growth here. And then it just sort of went completely back down to zero. I mean, it was horrendous. It was really bad because we were in a growth year and we were hiring people, and then we had to let people go, and it was really, really scary. And then coming out of COVID, we saw growth again. But and it's still, we're still getting, we're still sort of paying the price a little bit. I think a lot of brands are, but it is really, it really is a roller coaster. It really is these ups and downs, and you see huge wins, and then you lose one, and then you see a win, and it's running a disruptive business in the UK in 2025 is tough. I'm not going to lie. So I think that I'm always very honest. We haven't made it, but we are growing. I think that there's never been more of a time where you need to really look at what innovation looks like and try and really find what are the things that are working, double down on those, and what are the things that you're trying, that aren't working. I think that, we're seeing a lot of businesses go, cutting costs and, trying to become a lot more sort of nimble,
Lean.
and lean. So I think that, I think that, and online and online is, for certain businesses is a really good route to go down, because you don't have the big overheads of huge teams if you're all online. I think for us it's really difficult because this wholesale model, we need to be out there. We need to be meeting. We're constantly meeting with people. We do a lot of sort of trade shows, and our life is offline, most of it. So it's about for us at CanO Water, it really is about juggling. But innovation is key.
Yeah. What does 2025 have in store for you?
So yeah, looking at new products, looking at being clever, really, being smart, looking at what the future looks like, and online is definitely, a huge part of that. Um,
AI
you know,
playing a part in what you're doing at the moment?
so I would say, I would say that AI from an enhancing the team. So I actually am very for using things like OpenAI and ChatGPT to really sort of speed up the process of people's thinking. I I am not for people using it as a like as an 100% tool like that. Like I am now OpenAI because it's like, well, I don't think that that is, I think that everyone's got a lot of creativity inside of them, and I think that it can suck the creativity out of you if you use it for
Yeah.
as 100% you. But what I am for is I am for you coming up with your ideas, you being the best version of yourself, and then going into ChatGPT with like how can I take this to a whole nother level,
Right.
100%. And I've had conversations with people who are like 100% for it. And I'm talking about people that were that were the massive people at Microsoft and people within within the world of tech. And then I've had conversations with people who are like, oh, I'll never use it because, like it can speed up everything. So why wouldn't we? If it can get you to be to be a better version of yourself and more and get more done in the day,
Then why?
I just don't understand why we wouldn't use it. So I am very, very, very for it. Um it's funny with like crypto as an example, which I don't know too much about. It's like, what can an NFT do? Like, this is just my personal view.
Yeah.
If I buy an NFT, what can it do to make me better? All right, it might make me a bit of money in the short term, but what can it do to make me better? And there are things I'm sure with the blockchain that is like way beyond a lot of our thinking that can, but this is like instant success. Like if I've just had a daughter, I mentioned to you before, as a first time dad, there are a lot of things that I don't know. And there's a lot of things as well of as a first time dad. I'm a DJ as well, and I've DJed. I DJ on the weekends. I own and run, and I'm the CEO of a company. Um, I go to the gym, and I'm very sort of all of these things. I genuinely use ChatGPT to basically just sort of, if I have a question about the baby, or if I have a question about my gym routine, or I'm very healthy when it comes to my eating, I don't know a lot of these things and what's the best thing to do, especially with business as well. And if I don't know it, I just go to ChatGPT, and instead of me sitting there for 3 hours trying to like research it, I've got it within 3 seconds. I know exactly. So I just think that actually, if that's what AI is going to do for the future, I'm all for it personally. I'm all for it. What I'm not for is, and as someone that's obsessed with music, is if music's just going to be made like that, and all of the biggest singers and songwriters are basically just going to be made redundant because actually it doesn't matter anymore. I'm not for that because
No.
I don't think that that's right, and I don't think that's fair.
No.
But if it's going to actually make a new sound, and it's going to make these the best people within music better. Oh, yeah, I'm down for it. So yeah, I think it's good. I think it is
Yeah.
good at the
Yeah.
moment.
Cool. Excellent. One quick question, like final question, and that's around. You talked earlier about kind of like ADHD and being on the spectrum. And you talked, and some of the stuff I've read about you, kind of like you guys dropping out of school and those sorts of things.
Mm.
I'm curious as to understand what your thoughts are about the current education system and how well or not so well the current education system is equipping young people to go and do stuff like you guys are doing.
Um, listen,
The answer to that question could last forever. So I'm very.
it can last forever. Listen, I don't know so much about what's going on in the system, but what I do know is that entrepreneurs aren't equipped enough to come out of school, come out of university, and understand what it takes, especially ones like me who suffered with ADHD and addiction. I mean, my story is I got diagnosed with ADHD at 11 years old. The system at then had no idea how to deal with people with ADHD. We were looked at as just being like basically you're finished and you what we don't know what we do what we do with these kids. And what I really needed to do was understand my superpowers of what the great things are about ADHD are, but I just didn't. What I know about people with ADHD now is you need to stimulate your mind. And what I use for that is the gym, running a business. It could be an ice bath. Music and DJing is massive for me. And when I stimulate my mind, you get the best version of me. But I had no idea. And the only way to stimulate my mind at that age, especially at an age where I didn't believe in myself, was basically just drink and take drugs, basically, which was a stimulant, but the wrong stimulant. And I spiraled out of control. And by the time I was 15, I was basically sitting in Alcoholics Anonymous meetings with a severe alcohol addiction. What I really needed was someone like myself. I'm actually going to a school tomorrow to speak to the students who basically could turn around and say, listen, you might feel completely out of place today and you might feel like you can't fit in. But let me tell you now, the people like you actually become the best entrepreneurs in the world because this is the path that you need to take to become that person. And even if you fall off, you can always come back and it's never too late. But if you don't want to, here is a step-by-step guide to basically stop you from basically, because it's all about an imbalance in our brains. And that's the thing that and people with ADHD, and bipolar and all autism, no one understands if you don't have these things that when someone gets upset, they get really, really upset. It's not like everything's heightened. So like depression is like 0 to 100 very, very quick. And these are things that I really, really don't think that the system really has an understanding of, to be clear. So I definitely think it's got better. Because I see a lot of kids that are now gaming and are DJing, but when we wanted to become a DJ, it was like, you can't do that, like that's you have to be this, you have to be that. So
it wasn't a thing.
it wasn't a thing. So what I really, really do believe is there needs to be, and I actually think this is a government thing. The government need to come together to create some kind of alliance within the schooling system of young entrepreneurs who basically just create an organization or a syllabus for kids that basically I wasn't academic. I couldn't concentrate. I couldn't do exams. I got terrible grades and everything. That does not mean that I am less than. It just means that my brain works differently. My wife got 10 A stars in everything, went to uni, and is a pharmacist and is the most intelligent person that I know. But I, who have equally phenomenal qualities, if you put us at a university, I'm basically I'm an idiot.
Yes. Yeah, but you prove beyond doubt that you're a smart guy, right?
Exactly.
But you weren't being treated like a smart guy.
Exactly. And do you know what the funniest thing is? I can't concentrate. I can't revise. I can't. I'm a visual learner. So if I watch something, I will remember it all. I hyper focus and I'm so obsessed with music and art. And if I learned through that, I actually, I'd be a genius. So I think that there needs to be something that is done, and it's something that I actually, as a UK entrepreneur, am definitely passionate on being part of. If it was, if it was started.
Yeah, brilliant. Josh, I know I'm conscious of time and you've got to
Yeah.
go. It's been really, really good to meet you.
Thanks,
Thank
Kevin.
you so much for coming on. I really appreciate it.
No, thank you very much for having me.